Awesome. All right. Ready. Let's go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are going to be diving into a really interesting topic. But first and foremost, let's introduce everyone. My name is Shanice Dockins. I'm an Oklahoma City native. I'm an author, speaker, coach, and also an advocate for mental health and domestic violence. And what I like to essentially do is really just collaborate and partner with different women who have also went through similar experiences as me, and just really shedding light and really talking about things that are uncomfortable, things that we've been through as women, things that have affected us in our childhood, in our adulthood, and just relationships in general. And so I have an extraordinary person on here today who I really wanted to really bring on and talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. We are going to be discussing domestic violence and bringing awareness to it from both sides, from men and women, and what that looks like in our community. And so today we have Miss Yvette Hunter. She is an extraordinary person. She is a survivor. She's a thriver, and I'm just really honored to really have her on my platform and really just speak about her story, her message, and what she really advocates for. And so, Miss Yvette, just tell us a little bit about yourself and, where you're from, what your current occupation is, and what really inspired you to really want to partner and talk about domestic violence, and why it's so important to, bring awareness to this topic that a lot of times is taboo in our community. And sometimes we do shy away from it. We shy away from a lot of different things. And what can you tell the people about domestic violence and your personal experiences?
Well, I am originally born and raised in Chicago on the West Side. After high school, I graduated, went to Mississippi, and I went down there and went to college. Got an associate's, then went back and got a master's in criminal justice. I joined the police department and became a law enforcement officer. And after graduating the academy, 2 months after graduating the academy, I went back through academy and became narcotics officer. Doing all this, I was still in a domestic violence relationship. It took me a minute to get out. I was in this relationship, I think, almost 19 years. Mm-hmm. And I have children with an abuser. And it's very important for me to tell my story because of the simple fact I was blessed and made it out alive. Mm-hmm. And I think I made it out because my purpose of living was to tell my story to help other women and men and children, anyone who's been in any kind of domestic dispute, because it doesn't have to always be a man. It can be a man going through it with a woman, and it can be children going through it as well.
Oh, well, I just wanted to, again, commend you in sharing that. It's very important, and you have a vast background, especially dealing with, from the children aspect to your own personal, and it's really, a heavy on the heart. It's like, wow, like you survived, you're here. But like you said, you can also empower and impact others to share their story as well. So tell me a little bit about, what kind of challenges that you faced in domestic violence when you were like in the midst in really, wanting help and seeking help, as far as like, how did you feel? Did you feel embarrassed? Did you feel like, you weren't going to get out of the situation? Because it's really important that, people understand that sometimes we want to get out of certain situations, but we don't know how to ask for help. And so can you kind of pinpoint like how you were feeling in these specific experiences that were kind of challenging for you?
Oh, wow. This relationship was so challenging. It was so challenging. I got to the fact I wanted to give up. Mm-hmm. When I down south of Mississippi, even though I went down there, went to college, I went down there with him and his family. So I had no family down there. So once I got down there, everything was fine, finding jobs, getting places to live. It was a new state, something different. And it's like within 3-4 months of getting down there, he turned into a whole different person. I couldn't go anywhere. He didn't want me to work, didn't want me to have any friends, locked me in the house, wouldn't allow me to talk to people. It was total control. It was basically being locked in the house. I couldn't go nowhere but to his parents' house. I couldn't do anything. I barely can work. I couldn't go to church. I couldn't even go back to school to get in a associate or master's or anything until I got out of a relationship. I couldn't even really have a career until I got away from that man. It got to the point where I really needed to get away when one day I came home from work. I think I was 2 minutes late or something coming in. He beat me up so bad where I guess he knocked me out. I laid on the dining room floor so long, and I knew I laid there long because the blood was dried up all around my face, on my face and on the floor. And when I got up, he was on the couch drinking. And so I get up and I'm looking around and it's like it's nothing to him. And I look on the floor and I'm doing this to my face. It's like dried up blood. And I'm like, God, I had to be laying here for a long time. So that's telling me he didn't care if he killed me or not. Because if I laid there that long until that blood was dried up the way it was, I wasn't laying there for maybe hours. I don't know. So I got up, I looked at him. He just looked at me. I walked to the restroom. I cleaned myself up. I went to go look for the kids. My boys were hiding in the closet. And my daughter was just sitting on her bed, rocking back and forth. When I said that, I knew it was time to get out. I knew I had to plan to get out of there because basically I had in my head that I can't get out of that relationship unless it's in a body bag. That was really what I thought, that the only way out was to die. And I had accepted that. And it's sad to say, but I accepted that I was going to die. I wasn't going to get out of that relationship. But that day, that really made me change. Like, I got to get out of here because this man just basically showed me he don't care,
Wow. I definitely had to just take a pause there because that's an impact right there, especially in front of the children. And that's really unfortunate. But
yeah, because I know when I came in, the kids was on the couch, sitting. They were in the front room with him when I walked through the door. But immediately the beating started. So the kids do what they normally do. They run and hide, because they're afraid. And they know when their dad is doing the drugs and he's drinking, he's a totally different person. And they know to get out of the way. But how long was they in the closet? I don't know. How long was my daughter rocking on that bed? I don't know. I don't even know how long I was on the floor.
Wow. Very touching. That goes into, our next part as well. Is you were talking about the different types of abuse, and him being controlling and obviously physically from the blood, and then obviously emotionally impacting, the children, because at that specific age, they're trying to figure out what is going on. They're scared as well. And it's like, okay, you're in the midst of that. So, wow. Okay. So in those darkest moments, like what was like the light at the end of the tunnel? Did you feel like you were going to make it out? Like I heard you say that, you felt like giving up, but like, what was like another turning point for you? Like in the midst of it?
Another turning point was my baby boy. I think at the time he was maybe 5, and he loved his dad. Don't get me wrong, he loved him, but he was still afraid of him. And I think the baby was me and him was in the room, in the bedroom watching TV because his father was in the front room watching a football game. So he called on to my son. He called him, and I told him, I said, your dad's calling you. He didn't say anything. He just was doing this. I said, go see what your dad wants. He did this. Wow. So he heard his dad come down the hall, and he jumped out the bed and got under the bed. So he was like, where is he? I said, we're playing hide and go. So, I had to play it off as if we were playing. And, I couldn't tell him his son is hiding from him, So I'm, come from under the bed, see what your dad want. And his dad was in a good mood that day. He hadn't been drinking and drugging, so he was actually himself. But he just wanted to give the kids some stuff that he bought from the store. But to see that my son was so terrified, and his eyes were filled up with water. He was shivering a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And I made up in my mind, I said, I got to get out of here. I can't stay in this relationship. You know what? I can't give up, because basically I gave up. I told him one day, why don't you just kill me and get it over with? This is suffering that you're doing. You're putting guns to my head. You're stomping me in the head. You're kicking me. You're hitting me. You're putting all these bruises and stuff on me. You've broken my nose before. You threw me out of moving cars on the expressway. You've done all these things to me. Just kill me and get it over with. You know what he said? Nah, that's too easy. I enjoy what I'm doing.
Wow.
So my kids was the reason why I fought and did what I did. My kids. If I didn't have any kids, I probably been gave up. I probably wouldn't be talking to you now. I couldn't let my kids were going. My daughter had anxiety. She still has anxiety, and she's 29. And my kids, they was seeing all this abuse, all this blood. They're patching me up with band-aids. They're, getting ice for mommy. They're towels. They're cleaning. Enough was enough. I couldn't let my kids go through that anymore, because there's this old saying: your kids are going to do what your parents do. I didn't want my boy to see that, to be beating women. Or I don't want my daughter getting in a relationship like her father and get beaten. So I had to do something. I had to get out. And the simple fact, I was down in Mississippi by myself. I had no family. My family was here in Chicago. And I just talked to myself, like, I got to get out of here. I can't stay. And I just planned it. And it took me a year and a half to get out, but I got out. I was shot, but I got out.
It's very mind-blowing, just to hear all of that. It's like every time I talk to someone about this topic, it's another like heart-wrenching the chaotic, the turmoil, in front of the kids. So it's like, wow, to really be in front of you and just hear you expressing it. Like, how does that make you feel, now that you're out of it? Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain on this side as well, but it's like, how does it make you feel like why me? Like, why did I have to go through all of this? Like,
it did. That was my number one question to God. Like, why me? Like, I'm a good person. I treat people right. And I couldn't understand why he picked me to go through that. Has domestic violence ever been in my family? As far as with my mom, I've never seen it. But I had a sister that went through it, and we're really close. And I watched her boyfriend beat her a lot, and until a fact where I actually jumped in one of her fights with him before at a store, and I'm like maybe 11, 12. So I did see my sister go through that for many, many years. Did I think it was right? At first, I thought that's what relationships was all about, because I spent a lot of time with my sister at her house, and I seen it on the regular. But after my mom explained to me, like, that's not what a relationship is. A man should do this, 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 and this, A, B, C, and D. So then it started coming to me like, okay, this is not right what he's doing. I got to stop him from hitting my sister. I used to jump in my sister fights, and I'm a kid. So I did see it, around me, but was not in the house with me. A lot of people ask me, though, how did you let yourself get into it? Did your mom go through it? No, I never seen my mom go through any type of violence.
Mm-hmm.
But my sister, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think she's still messed up from that because she still has issues right now. But I couldn't do that anymore. My life meant everything to me, and my children meant everything to me, and I just cannot allow myself to go through it another minute.
Wow, that's really eye-opening. Again,
It is.
hear all of that from the physical abuse, because I know even from myself, it's just watching, other people around you. You sometimes just never think that it's going to be you, like, or your kids, or, like you're trying to do everything in your power to protect them from the things that you're going through. And somehow it just trickles down and indirectly affects them, like
Right.
you said with your daughter having anxiety. So, let's dive a little bit deeper into that about the long-term effects. Like, again, how are you now? How are you doing? How are you doing at your
I still have my days.
Mm-hmm.
I still have bad dreams sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I did explain to my husband, he knows a lot about what happened. Because we all went to school together, so he does knows a lot about the relationship. But he know that I still have my issues. He helps me out with them when I find myself going back to that dark place. He pulls me back out.
Good, good.
It's just I just try to be really careful with how I respond to people. Me having a career that I have, number one, I run across these type of guys on a regular every day.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time, and deep inside, I'm like so mad.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I got to remain professional because this is my job career. This is my career. And I've been in this line of work, law enforcement, public safety. I've been in this line of work over 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my whole career. So you got to know how to separate your personal life from your career. Was it hard? Because of the simple fact of me being in law enforcement and in a domestic relationship was very hard. Can you imagine me arriving on a scene at a domestic dispute?
Mm-hmm.
You know how hard and difficult that was for me to do my job?
Mm-hmm.
It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, once I leave that scene, make an arrest or whatever I did, once I get back in that patrol car, I go park somewhere and I let it all out.
Yeah.
I couldn't let nobody see that because I was embarrassed. First thing comes on man, how are you law enforcement if someone's beating on you? You have a gun. It's not that simple.
Right.
People, why you didn't leave? Or why didn't you do this to them? It's not that simple. Because when you love someone and the heart is in it, you can't walk away. I don't care what anybody says. They can say, oh, I would have did this, I would have did that. No, you wouldn't have. You can say what you want. It's not that easy to walk away from someone that you really, 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 really love.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 3 children by this man, so it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Get away. It's something that you have to really plan and work on doing. Because what people don't realize, when you just up and leave your abuser, that's how women die.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they get killed. They be like, oh, you know what? I'm gone. And they get up and leave. Eventually, what happens? They come up dead. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I planned my escape. And it took me 1.5 years to do it. But I still did it. And I made it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that not after that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting in another relationship with another guy who was abusive. But the difference was with this relationship, again, I'm still law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This guy showed no signs, period.
Mm-hmm.
None. He was nice, he was sweet, he did everything for me. He accepted my job as a police officer. He's just supported me in everything. But it got to the point where I was catching him in a lot of lies. I found out he was stealing from me. I found out he was lying about going to work. He was getting fired. He had got fired. Never told me he did. And he was he was messing around. So when it gets to the point where you're doing all of that, number one, these are signs because I had already been through it already. Mm-hmm. So I caught this one before it got physical. Okay. So when I caught it, I was like, hey, this is not going to work. I think we need to just separate. This is not for me. I've been through it before. I'm trying to do bigger and better things, and I have plans, and I just don't think you fit in my plans right now because we're not on the same level. Mm-hmm. Because of that, when I turned around, he attacked me. Mm-hmm. He threw a blanket over my head. He threw me down on the bed. He put his hand over my mouth, and he used the other hand. So I couldn't make any noise. The only thing I could do is kick. Mm-hmm. I was kicking my feet, and there was a champagne glass and a champagne bottle on my dresser. Mm-hmm. So if I can kick hard enough and make it shake, it'll fall and break. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kicking. And my son's like, Mommy, what's that noise? You know, the door was locked. He know we're in there, but he hear a lot of kicking. So I guess he went and told my daughter what was going on. So my daughter's like, Mom, you all right? Before you know it, my daughter kicked the whole door off the hinges. Wow. Her and my son came running in there with sticks and mops and brooms, and they beat this man up off of me. He ran out of the back door, ran down the alley. By that time, I'm trying to catch my breath and everything because he's been strangling me. My eyes are then turned, they got blood clots in my eyes because I was on the verge of passing out. I catch my breath, I run out the back door to chase my kids, and I run to the alley, and my daughter's like, he's running down the alley. I said, call the police right now. Okay. Since he's left the house, there's no need for me to get my gun. This is what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get my gun. So I go upstairs to check on my dad. My dad's 90 years old. He couldn't come down the stairs, but he heard the commotion. So I go upstairs and I told, my dad's like, what's all this busting? What's going on down there? I said, Dad, I asked him to leave. He got to go. He just tried to strangle me and blah, blah, blah. My dad was like, call the police. We called the police. Police is en route. My grandson at the time, he was maybe 5, 6 years old. Mm-hmm. He come running upstairs, grandma, come get the baby. The baby's about to fall out the bed. I'm like, okay, Dad, I'll be back. Let me go get my grandbaby. Right. My grandbaby wasn't even a year old at the time, my other grandson. So I go down the stairs. I can remember getting to maybe the last 3 or 4 stairs. Mm-hmm. I got down the stairs and I took that last step. My right foot took that last step. I felt the impact. Mm-hmm. It spent me around. I can remember doing this to my head and everything went black. Mm-hmm. I can hear screaming. I can hear crying. I can't feel anything. Mm-hmm. I can't see anything. Now, my eyes is open. And I know that because I'm blinking. Mm-hmm. But I can't. I can hear everybody. Mm-hmm. I know I'm on the ground because they screaming, cover my mommy, get something. Her head is cracked open, blah, 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 whatever. I hear my cousin come downstairs screaming. He's like, oh my God, give me a pillow. Give me something to put on my head. He's like, cuz, you good, you good. I was trying to talk, but I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything but just lay there. I can hear the sirens. I can hear the commotion upstairs. I can hear the police radios. I hear all this stuff come downstairs too. I can see them I can hear them put me on the stretcher. I can't feel none of my body, period. There's nothing. I can't feel anything. Mm-hmm. I can't see anything. As they taking me up the stairs, vision starting to slowly come back where everything is blurry. I can somewhat see my dad's silhouette because he had on this bright red sweater. And I can see the police grabbing him, making him sit down. I know he's crying. My kids are screaming, yelling, and crying. My grandkids are crying. Mm-hmm. And they put me in the ambulance, and I can hear them say, we have a cracked skull. Mm-hmm. Let's go. They put me to sleep. That was it. Mm-hmm. When I woke up, I was kind of restrained to the bed. I had all this stuff wrapped around my head. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was going on. I wake up, I got all these police in my room, detectives, everything. They asking me, how do I feel? I'm like, what is going on? Can you guys release my hands? Blah, blah, blah. The detective is asking me, do I know what happened? I said, yeah, I do know. I got into it with my boyfriend. I asked him to leave, but why am I in a hospital? Why is bandages over my head? And they was like, okay, if we take your hands aloof, would you won't bother the bandages? I'm like, no, I won't. When they told me what that man did to me, I was so mad. I cried. And I think I cried because I was so angry because I allow it to happen again. But like the detective told me, you didn't allow anything to happen. He snuck up behind you and attacked you. It's a difference.
Yep.
It's a difference. So we don't want you to blame yourself. And they was like, are you law enforcement? Because I had so much police stuff in my room. I had police jackets, bulletproof vests. I had stuff everywhere. Gun case, all of that. And my daughter had told them she's a police officer. She's a police officer. They called Mississippi, advise them what happened, all of that stuff. And I can truly say Chicago Police Department showed me a lot of love. And when they told me they was going to get him, they was working 24 hours. It took them a week to find him, but they found him. And they were working 24 hours.
Wow.
And you come out support. The fellow brothers and sisters in blue showed me so much love. So much love. Oh my God, I've never felt so much love. Right today, I'm really good friends with a whole lot of them because of that incident. Yes. Wow. But again, I survived. I'm end up being paralyzed from here to the center of my head because he hit me with a bat. The bat broke in 4 pieces. I don't even know how I'm still sitting here. I don't even know how I'm still able to even tell my story and have my right mind because I was hit across my head here all the way down to here. This was flapped open where the skull was exposed. I'm paralyzed from here all the way here, so it's completely dead here. I lost a lot of my hair in the front and the sides because the hair follicles are dead. It won't grow anymore because I have dead muscles and bad nerve damage in the face and head. I can't hear out of my right ear. I had eye surgery to fix my eye because the eye had drifted off over here. The muscles were dead. Everything in this eye over here was pretty much just dead. So he had to kind of like bring it back over and fix it. It was all messed up. I had surgery on my nose because again, my nose had got broke from the first incident and I never went to the hospital. So by me getting hit with the bat, it caused bad sinus issues where I had a deviation in my nose and they had to have surgery to fix that. When they fixed the deviation, they also fixed the bridge of the nose from when it was broken from the first domestic violence relationship. Wow. And I have seizures. So I take 4 medications that I have to take the rest of my life. Yes. But you know what? I used to cry about it. I used to stay in my room, be balled up about it. Why me, God? Why me? But you know what? Why not me?
Right.
Why not me? This made me so strong. This has made me to be such a better person. Did I hate I went through all of that? I do hate I went through all of that. But at the same time, God used me.
Absolutely.
He used me to go through this. He used me. So he wanted me to overcome this. He wanted me to come out and tell my story. And I tell people all the time, they be like, man, what's the purpose of telling your story? Because the telling my story is the purpose of me living.
Exactly.
You don't understand. People don't understand. They tell me all the time, why you embarrass yourself telling your story? It's not an embarrassment. It's power. Every time I tell this story, it gives me power. It gives me strength. It gives me knowledge. All of that. But people who hasn't been through this, they don't understand.
No.
They don't. So I'm going to continue to tell this story. And I'm not going to stop. And I tell people all the time, remember the face, remember the name, remember the smile, because I'm not stopping.
No, absolutely. I definitely commend you.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
It is.
Wow. Give me just a second.